start getting this heater set up. We're gonna get a blower mounted onto this end. My exhaust hot air is gonna be coming from the other end. So just regular ducting, 6-inch ducting. We're gonna put this on. We're gonna cut that circle into a bigger square just so we get a little bit more airflow on this end. Get that mounted, and this is what I got set up for a blower. Just something I had lying around, so should work fine. Should pump out quite a bit of air. One way to find out. See how it works. There. Okay, finally got one of these things, but I think I'm gonna need to get a steel drill bit. Because that's gonna take way too long to get all of them in with just self-tapping screws. Anyways, that's the process of what I need to do. Well, that's what it's going to look like when it's mounted. I'll silicone all the way around it, then finish screwing it off. I just got to get some steel drill bits, and then I should be able to use the self-tapping screws on there. In the meantime, we'll get this mounted. I just cut off that flange so I can sit right tight onto the unit. So I'll get that mounted up here. And that one should be able to self-tap right through there. It's a little bit thinner material on these legs. So, see how this goes. This is actually set up with a whole separate burn chamber and heat chamber. Well, maybe tough to see, but this is all solid plate welded all the way around. So this bottom chamber is going to be the burn chamber, where the fire is actually going to be. And then that upper chamber is going to be a heat chamber, which is going to collect the hot air and blow that hot air into the shop, which will mean that there's no smoke or anything else going into the shop, just hot air, because that's sealed completely from the burn chamber. As you can see, there's kind of the weld marks there, and that's actually the full weld on the burn chamber and heat chamber. And then this chimney is directly through, right from the burn chamber in through the heat chamber and up and out. We got the fan mounted onto the barrel. We got things wired up. This is just a preliminary wiring. I have a heat sensor onto the heat duct, which is going to be going into the shop. And that can be adjusted your temperature. And this is actually just parts off of an old frost fighter that I had kicking around. Actually works out pretty good, has everything we need. So we have it wired from the fan motor into junction box to the thermostat on the air output into the shop, and then it'll be the power. So in theory, all we got to do is heat up this chamber until we got about 100 degrees. And as soon as we hit 100 degrees, it should kick that fan on, blowing hot air into the shop. So this is just going to be the test. So let's give it a try. All right. Now once that heats up to 100 degrees, it's going to trip that thermostat and turn the fan motor on. Perfect. So that works, which is perfect. And now, once that cools off enough, once it cools off to below whatever that's set at, it'll turn that fan back off. So it's not going to be blowing cold air from outside into the shop. Now, all of this wiring is going to get redone. Obviously, this is just very preliminary, testing it, making sure the whole concept works and everything fires as it's supposed to be. I'm actually probably going to get this towed outside tomorrow, get it set up, light a fire in it, and see how it works as this setup. And then this is all going to be changed with the weatherproof box. Sealed up completely. Gonna have a new cable from the motor, armored cable from motor into the weatherproof box, and then probably reuse this same cable to the thermostat. And I'll have a new longer extension cord so I can actually plug it in to a heat source or power source. This is where it's going to be placed. They're all situated for now anyways. I think eventually I'll end up lifting it up and pouring a cement pad underneath it. But for this year, before winter, this is going to be the setup. So all that's left now is we're going to pipe this into the shop, bunch of holes straight in, and I'll put a flashing around it and seal it up. And plug it in and light a fire and test it out. Alright, now I'll just wait and get that fire nice and hot, keep it stoked, and wait for the barrel to warm up, and it should trip that heat sensor and the fan will kick on. So eventually I'm going to be putting a kind of a tighter screen on the inside of this just to prevent any sparks from coming out. I'll do the same on the chimney. But for now, hopefully we'll get some heat here pretty soon. Alright, fire's going. Fan just kicked on. So now we're going to be actually pumping hot air into the shop. So once that cools off enough, then it'll turn that fan off, and then it won't be blowing cold air into the shop. So this is working exactly how I wanted it to. Hardly took any wood actually to get it to trip that sensor. It's pumping hot air already, so this is just going to be all the scrap lumber we have from projects, from houses that we're building or cabins or whatever. Now it's just a matter of getting it all tidied up, clean up all this wiring, and eventually I'll insulate the top here with Roxol and probably put a kind of a frame on it, match the shop, and clean it up.